Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. Today what we're going to be talking about is the Mitas Sport Force Pluses, that you probably guessed from the title. What we're going to be covering is who these tyres are for, their grip in the wet, their grip in the dry, their braking in the wet, their braking in the dry, the overall feel, the cost, and should you buy them and would I buy them? I also have obviously the mileage that this set here has lasted for. And it's just about gone. I do think there's a couple more 100 miles left on them, but I had them booked in to get changed, and then my uncle gave me his S1000 XR for the week, so I'm just going to change them. A couple 100 miles, I'd rather just have them changed and fresh ones on for the winter. What I'm going for next is the Sport Force Plus ESs, by the way, for those of you interested, on the Honda CBF. Everything today is on the Honda CBF. So, who are they for, just to get it out of the way? These are a sportier tyre. If you're looking for something that is, higher in mileage and stuff like that, and will last that little bit longer, then these are not for you. Just to be aware of that before the very start of the video. Don't want to waste your time. These are a softer compound tyre that did wear off the bike pretty quickly. Not crazy quick, but quick enough. So you might remember, if you've been watching the channel a while, that when I put these on, there was exactly 20,000 miles on the bike. There's now 22,160. So they did exactly 2,160, which a quick calculation shows me 2,160 multiplied by 1.61, about 3,477 kilometers, 3,500 kilometers. I would say they would have gotten to 4,000 kilometers. I think that's pretty good from a sportier tyre. About half the life that I got from the Touring Forces from Mitas. So before anyone's like, that's not very much mileage, why I put these tyres on the bike was because I wanted a grippier, softer compound for my trip around Scotland. I was kind of hoping for dry-ish weather sometimes, which we did not get. We got one day of mostly dry weather, which was absolutely fantastic. That was up around the national park place near Inverness, and they were absolutely amazing on that day. That was some of the best fun I've ever had on the bike, and honestly these tyres have a lot to thank for it. So anyway, before I wax more lyrically about them, let's jump into their grip in the dry. It's 5 out of 5. They're brilliant. They never put a foot wrong for me in all the time they've been on the bike, and I know it's only one set of them. Obviously, ideally, you'd like to try 2 or 3 sets and be like, okay, they're consistently good. But these tyres, the Sport Force Pluses, are so good in the dry. Like, not once that I come into a corner and be like, ooh, they were just perfection. The whole lot of them got used. They were good when I didn't have the bike loaded up. They were really good when I had, like, all of my panniers on, my top box on, the tent, and my bag full of clothes strapped to the back. No problem. They just gripped and gripped and gripped and gripped all of the time. I'm putting some clips up on the screen now so you can see some of what I mean over in Scotland, but my god, these tyres were unbelievably good. I was hoping they'd be good, but I was honestly kind of surprised with how good they were. Coming from the Touring Force, I knew what to expect. I knew they were a good tyre. I knew Mitas were making good stuff, but these Sport Force Pluses were unreal. Now, the grip in the wet. Mitas got something wrong, in my opinion. On their website, the grip, the wet grip for the Touring Forces, they're listed as 5 out of 5 grip in the wet. Now, I never had a slip or anything, but it also comes from feel for me as well, and they only have the 1 rating, so feel and grip kind of go together. But we'll talk about that in a second. But I think these are better in the wet because you get more feedback through them. So might they grip as long? Realistically, if you push them hard enough, maybe not. But their feedback and letting you know where they are and how close you are to the edge of what they can do for you, really, really good. I would put these at a 4 or 5 out of 5 for grip in the wet, because, I mean, like I said, I brought them around Scotland. It rained 75% of the time. It wasn't really light rain. The roads were quite wet a lot of the time, and these just hung on for all of it. It's November in Ireland now, and this bike has been used all through October, November, and Obviously I've gotten rain, and it's again, they haven't put a foot wrong. I haven't gotten one slip out of these, and most tires I expect a little squeak around the bend or something. I usually get that from a set of tires, and I did, like I said, I did get it from the Touring Forces once in the rain, but these ones have been honestly perfect. I'm not just saying that, these have been exceptionally good. Which brings me on to the grip, and the feel. I'm going to talk about the feel in the wet first, because honestly it's what impressed me the most about them being a sportier tyre. And I do want to talk about water clearance as well, but we'll get to that. So the feel in the wet is honestly what gave me the confidence in them. They heat up quick, the tyre turns on very quick. If you've never heard that term, it just means that when they hit temperature and actually get their feel into them, they do that quickly. They get to that area where you can be like, okay, I'm pretty happy with these. They work pretty quickly, which is really nice, especially when you're over, touring with your friends or whatever. You just get on the bike, or even commuting to work, to be honest, because realistically that's what I use my bike for most of the time. And by the time I'm out at the main road, those tires are heated up, and I can just drive on to work and not worry about them. It is a nice to have, especially at this time of year with cold road surfaces and stuff. So the feel in the wet honestly is what gives me, and it might be swaying my opinion for actually how the grip works, because when I go out in the wet on these, I can feel everything. They're letting me know this is where I'm happy, don't push me any harder, and that's honestly why I would give them a 5 for grip as well. And that's hand in hand with the feel. They're obviously not a very hard carcass, I would imagine, because of the feedback, you can feel everything, it's really nice. It's really, really, really nice. It gives you a lot of confidence in the tyre. And obviously I knew they were a sport tyre, so I knew they were a sportier tyre, so I knew that they would grip that a little bit more. So I trusted them that a little bit more, and they paid me back for the trust. Feel in the dry, it's kind of like a moot point, because the feel is so good in the wet, it's going to be that good in the dry, and it is. Again, the feedback is just really good. They feel unbelievably nice through corners, like long corners. I don't know, have you ever been on tyres? My old Bridgestone Battle Axe BT023s used to do this, like halfway through a long curve. It's like they just feel different, which never gave me confidence in them. It's why I never put that tyre on the Phaser again. Now I have ridden other bikes with that tyre on it, and they worked better for there. I don't know, did it just not suit the Phaser, or maybe they were an old set. They're what came on the Phaser when I bought it, so possibly. But that feeling of halfway through a corner and you're like, my tyres don't feel the same anymore, because you get that initial bite on turning if you're pushing through a corner. You want that same feel to continue the whole way through it, and I have lost that in tyres anyway in the past, basically. Not with these. These are lovely and consistent. They just feel planted in the dry. Obviously you wouldn't be pushing like that in wet. They're just great, and someone's probably going to make a dirty joke out of what I just said, but that's okay too. I always say these things, and I realise as I'm saying them, like, I'm not going to cut that out. If you want to make a joke out of pushing hard in the wet, you can. You disgusting, disgusting people. You disgust me, especially you, Kazuaki. I know you're the one who makes these jokes most. Anyway, so that's kind of like, grip in the dry, grip in the wet, they're really, really good. Feel in the dry, feel in the wet, they're really, really good. I honestly don't have many bad points. Obviously the longevity, if you walked in and got these tyres and hadn't looked them up and didn't realise they're a sportier tyre that are designed to burn off quickly, like I spoke about in the last video when I reviewed the Touring Forces, there is a trade-off there. If you want tyres that have loads of feedback and loads of quick grip and heat up quickly, they're not going to wear that long. That's just how it is. Now, personally, I prefer a softer tyre. Even though I do quite a few miles, I prefer to burn them off. I prefer to have that grip and that feedback. It's just personal preference. Some people obviously want to go out and have a tyre that lasts 20,000 miles. Fair enough. That is your choice. Just not how I like to do it. I prefer something that, you can kick it into a corner and then absolutely just pin it on the way out and have all of the grip in the world. That's part of why I ride bikes. I get enjoyment out of that. But I realise that some people looking at this tyre and saying realistically it has a lifespan of 2,300 miles or 4,000-ish kilometres, it might not be for you. So just be aware of that before you walk into it. Eyes wide open. These tyres, they do not last that long. But if you're someone who, you know, rides more infrequently and want a tyre that just switches on quickly, you're going for a quick blast, these are for you. If you're someone like me who likes to ride a little bit more aggressively, these are for you. They're absolutely perfect to tour on. Like, I had all of the luggage on that bike and myself, and I'm 2 people basically weight-wise, and they were just brilliant. Honestly, I just don't have complaints about them. The other thing is the cost. Okay, so full disclosure, I did get a little discount on these, so I think these would have cost me around 210, 220. I got them for about 160. Freeman's and the Mitas rep gave me a deal on those, so thank you very much. Even if I didn't get a deal again, would I buy them again? Absolutely. Currently you can get the rear online for about 120. That's not fitted, obviously. And the front is about 90. So in total you're spending €210 for your set. Now what I'm comparing these directly to, because they're a very similar tyre, is the Bridgestone Hypersport S22s I have on my GSX-R, which are, you know, they've obviously done a couple of track days, so they're pretty much gone as well. And if you were to ask me on the GSX-R, because obviously it's a bike a little bit more demanding grip-wise, would I get these or would I get another set of the S22s? And this is no reflection on the S22s when I say this. They're brilliant, and I'll also do a review on them soon. I would go with the Mitas, because you're saving, those tyres cost me 320 fitted, so I'm saving like about €100, say, on between the Mitas and the S22s. If they last the same amount of time, and for someone of my skill level and rides the speed I do, if they do the same job, why would I spend the extra €100? You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at. Again, the S22s are an amazing tyre. Absolutely. I will not take that away from them. And I think the centre of them wears a bit slower because of the dual compound they have as well. These Sport Force Pluses also have a dual compound, obviously softer on the sides, harder in the middle. I do think they squared off a little bit faster than the S22s, but again, bearing in mind, I think 1,200 miles were done touring with loads of luggage on it, so fair enough, they squared off a little bit. So kind of where have I used these as well, just to give you a rough idea. All up the east coast of Ireland, into Scotland, on the map that you'll see now, all around there in Scotland, back to Ireland and up and down to work quite a few times, and also to 1 or 2 food markets in the Midlands. Well, Laois is Midlands? I think Laois is Midlands. There, anyway, so they've done quite a mixed bit of riding. I've done plenty of wet weather riding in them. In Scotland, I would say most of their life has been on wet roads, but they just excel in the dry. Like if you are primarily a dry weather rider and don't want to shed out for something like an S22, I would recommend these. And I know someone is going to come for me with a loaded shotgun saying, what are you doing comparing something to the S22s? Yeah, fair enough. I understand, like, the Hypersport S22s are a very well looked upon tyre, but for the average person, I'm not talking about someone who's going to bring the really fast road bike to the track and be really fast. That's not me. I'm like reasonably fast on the track and reasonably fast on the road. Like 60% of what I would think they can be maxed out at. So for me, the difference is negligible. You know what I mean? The Sport Force Pluses will do the same job for me as the S22s. So it's much of a muchness that way. You know what I mean? If that's what you want, if you want to look at something and you want value for money, I think these are them. For the normal person, you will not notice a performance difference. I honestly, truly believe that. I don't think you will. Now, the only thing I will say that I obviously haven't compared is the S22s have done a couple of track days and lasted very, very well, even though they punted me off at one point. Won't talk about that. That wasn't the tyre's fault. I would love to obviously get the Sport Force Pluses put on the GSX-R at some point and test them on the track, because I mean that's part of what they are. They are road and like light track day tires, which that'd be cool to test at some point. So hopefully I'll get to do that. So basically, a really quick roundup. Would I buy these tyres again, even at full price? Absolutely. Quite happily I will buy them again at full price, and I probably will, because I can't imagine I'm going to keep getting discounts forever. I don't have that type of luck. I'll probably put them on the GSX-R next, to be quite honest with you. Or if I really like the Sport Force Plus ESs, on the CBF. I might put them on the Gixxer next. I see which ones I prefer, because the Gixxer needs a little bit of valve work and whatever else. So we'll do that over winter. I think they're great value for money. I would buy them again, absolutely, and they're phenomenal, both wet and dry drip. The one caveat I will say is water clearance. I did ask a couple of the guys who were riding behind me in Scotland, and they weren't clearing a huge amount of water. So maybe the feedback was so good, I had more confidence in them than they even deserved, say. But like, again, I never slipped on them, so they were obviously clearing water perfectly fine. But to compare them to something like the Metzeler Roadtech 01s, if you want to do that comparison, because I know there's not a huge price difference, it's only like €80, I think. Obviously they will clear more water, but they're designed for that. They're not as sporty a tyre. But just to throw that out there, I do think these and the Roadtech 01s from Metzeler are two of the best tyres I've ever used. And I'm not just saying that. They really are excellent tyres. Anyway, if you've watched, thank you very much for watching. If you were looking and considering buying these tyres, let me know that this review helped. Whether you looked at it and said, hey, that's not enough mileage for me, I don't want those. Or you said, yeah, they sound like they'll suit me down to the ground, I want those. Let me know in the comments. I do appreciate hearing from you. I like it. It's nice. And yeah, as always, a very special thank you to all of my patrons. I do appreciate all your support massively. So thank you very much. Hope you're all doing well. And a special shout out to my man. My brain went blank, sorry. El Malato. A special shout out to my man El Malato. Hope you're doing well, bud. Let me know. And yeah, once again, thank you very much for watching. Adios. Outro crew. What do you prefer? And be entirely honest. Do you prefer a tyre with loads of longevity, or do you want that bit of grip? Even if you do lots of mileage, because for me, I know a lot of people think I'm mad that I'll buy tyres that will burn off, that cost the same, say, as the Touring Forces, but Touring Forces do double the mileage. I'll buy the grippier ones again first. Just that's the type of rider I am. Would you sacrifice your feel and grip for double the lifespan, or are you like me and just want all of the grip? I know some of you have answered this question before, but I'm still interested. I want to hear from more people, because I know it's like a data gathering exercise for me. I just like to hear. Anyway, yeah, bye. I have lots of bike work to do. Send help.